Welcome to Think, React, Lead, bringing you insights and strategies for thinking as an executive, reacting like a soldier, and leading in all aspects of your life. Here's your host, executive coach and leadership speaker, Dom Faussette.
Welcome to the Think, React, Lead podcast, where you will be provided insights on thinking as an executive, reacting like a soldier, and leading in various aspects of your career and your personal life. I am your host, Dom Faussette. Today we are going to discuss one of my favorite topics, as you can imagine, being prior military and ex-law enforcement: integrity. Integrity with people. Let me share a quick dog story with you, or canine story in this case. I was canine in the military, and what I learned about integrity, or what was driven home about integrity, was watching a person's, or in this case, an animal's actions for you to better determine what you were going to do or not do. My dog's job was to search, sniff, and obviously it being a dog, it couldn't talk. But what it could do was act, was provide value by way of nonverbals. And I ask, how many of us are integral in our nonverbals, in our actions, in our character traits or behaviors? See, all of those things should be aligned if you're going to have integrity with people. It's not just what you say. It's really how you say it and the actions that proceed afterwards. See, in order to be a leader, a man must have followers. And to have followers, you must first have their confidence. See, in order to build their confidence in you, your actions have to be integral. And we all know that integrity is just doing what's right when nobody's around, as that's how it was defined to me growing up with two veteran parents. Integrity comes with trust. There's actually a Dwight Eisenhower quote, and I'm actually going to read this. In order to be a leader, a man must have followers, and to have followers, a man must have their confidence. Hence, the supreme quality for a leader is unquestionably integrity. Without it, no real success is possible, no matter whether it is on a section's gang, a football field, in an army, or in an office. If a man's associates find him guilty of phoniness, if they find that he lacks forthright integrity, he will fail. His teachings and actions must square with each other. The first great need, therefore, is integrity and high purpose. And that's Dwight D. Eisenhower. We talk a lot about trust. You know, whether it's in your relationship, personal or at work, there's trust that just has to take place. For those of you that have pets, we all know that for those of you that have pets that leave them out while we're gone, we have to trust the fact that our dog or whatever the pet may be has to be housebroken, right? I leave my dog out when I leave, and I don't expect to come back home and find any messes on the floor. But same thing with your employees. Your action towards them, you expect to be able to leave, and what you've left is better than it was when you left. But the only way for your employees or your staff, direct reports, however you would like to phrase that, is that you have to provide an example. So what example are you providing for those that you influence? And you might not have employees, and that's okay, but there are people around you that look up to you, whether you know it or not. And we talk about trust. Trust is that thing that holds people together. And in the business world, it's acceptable to make mistakes. You can even make big mistakes. But if there's no trust and you try to get out of or throw somebody under the bus for a mistake that you made, you know, that's not a good look for any of us as leaders. And there was a study done. What center was this? The Center for Creative Research. And they surveyed 1,300 executives. And the one quality that they desired most on their teams was integrity. 71%, majority of them, said it was integrity. How important is integrity in your relationship, in in your world? And what are some values that you have in place that will allow you to increase your integrity, to increase what it is that you feel, what it is that your employees or people around you see, right? And these are questions that you probably don't ask yourself while you're getting dressed and, headed out of the house towards the office, but just something to think about throughout the day. What am I doing today that will increase my integrity influence for those around me? Let's talk about some integrity issues for influencers, right? Does my organization have good written values? So whether you have a small business, large business, or your business is not started yet, you should always have values written down. So what are your values? Make a list. If you don't have values now, make a list of values you would want from a company that you were working for. Or maybe you're not working, maybe you don't own a company, maybe you're working for a team. So what are some values written values that you have, that you abide by? And if you don't have values, but you're following values of a corporation that you're working for, ask yourself, do the leaders practice and model them for others? Now, if they don't, it's not for you to go tell them, hey, you're not practicing or modeling the values that are written down for this company. But maybe it's a way for you to guide yourself, guide your decisions, right? Because so many times decisions are made based off emotions. And although emotions are a good part of who we are, there's some decisions that need to be thought out. And there may be a time that you don't have the luxury of fully thinking out a decision, but say you had 2 to 3 written values, you base your decisions off of those values. For example, in the military, we have honesty, integrity, loyalty, and service, HILS, honesty, integrity, loyalty, and service. So I ask myself this: if I'm maybe feeling negative and there's a negative emotion that might come over me, before I act, I may not have to think about it, because I can always refer back to honesty. Is what I'm about to do honest? Is it integral? Does it show loyalty? And is it serving someone else? And if I can answer yes to all of those questions, then I proceed. The other question would be, do I place the interests of my peers, my team, my employees, my family above my own? Because as a leader, again, a person of influence, we oftentimes are in positions where our decisions, positively or negatively, impact those around us. And we always want those decisions made by ourselves to positively impact those around us. I'm a believer that one can't truly be a leader from the outside of their door without being a leader from the inside of their home. See, if we can't influence those that we say that we love in a positive nature, how can we walk outside and try to influence the world? People do it all of the time, but it's very difficult. I may have said this in the past, but when I go to different speaking engagements, more oftentimes than not, or when I'm able to, I'll bring my son. My son is 7 and he says some off the cuff things, and I never know really what he's going to say. But one thing I'm not concerned about is that he'll say something that happened inside the home, because I operate off of a certain level of integrity, and I practice this as I need my son, to be comfortable saying whatever he's going to say based off what happens inside the house, because as an influencer, as a speaker, you never know what our kids are going to say, and I want anything that he says to paint our household in the right light, but is not from a place of being false or being phony, but hey, this is who I am. I focus heavily on vulnerable leadership. So being who I am at home, be that same person at work, on stage, as I'm speaking, or at a conference, or at the grocery store, or even the gas station. Let me share this with you. I found this pretty funny. This happened to me over the weekend. My wife gave my son and myself some tickets to the Phoenix Suns and Denver Nuggets basketball game. And the seats weren't bad at all. They were, I think, on the 11th or 12th row. So myself and my son are sitting there in the stands, and we're watching the game. And then I get a notification on Facebook, and it's a picture of me sitting where I'm sitting, and it says, "Hey, Mr. Think React Lead is in the building." And I'm thinking, like, who is taking a picture of me? This is like, I'm not famous, so somebody's got to be taking a picture of me. And I messaged back, and I looked down, and it was one of the security guards that we both ride sport bikes. And I don't recall ever meeting him in person, but we follow each other on different social media platforms. And on social media, I'm extremely positive or informative, and there's certain things I just don't talk about: race, religion, and politics. I always try to add value with all of my posts across the board. And when he said that, I laughed, I giggled. But before I move on, I thought about it. Wow, what if I was a jerk to that person? Or what if, I don't know, there could be a million negative things that could have taken place, and we don't ever know who sees us. Many people see you before you see them. The benefit of what happened there, I took full advantage of that. I reached out to him. I said, "Hey man, nice chatting with you. I'll see you out there on the streets when we ride." And then it dawned on me. I was like, "Hey, why don't I try to get some floor seats?" So I asked him, "Hey, are those floor seats near you? Are they empty?" Long story short, what turned out to be a decent basketball game became epic. Now, I've never sat courtside at an NBA event, but it felt good. He actually said, "Come on down. I've got some seats for you." But why did he do that? Why did he take the time? And he didn't have to do it, and I greatly appreciate him for that. His name's Justin. Justin is his name. He said yes. He said, "Hey, come down, sit courtside." And when I sat courtside with my son had a wonderful experience. The mascot came, put a shirt on him, and was hanging out with my son. And then I got a chance to sit next to some international pop artists who happened to be performing at halftime, and we conversed briefly. But none of that would have happened if I didn't have values prior to walking out of my house. If I didn't place others above myself, if I didn't practice and model the values that I hold for myself. See, and we also have to ask ourselves, am I accountable to others for my actions? Some of us have coaches, which I believe everybody should if you're trying to grow. Some of us have mentors, right? Who's holding you accountable for your actions? Maybe it's the team that you lead. I recall when I led a team in the corporate world, I told them, I said, "Hey, I'm not perfect. I have some struggles. I deal with PTSD, so I can come into work, have a great day, and the next day something happened. Maybe I don't get a good sleep and I don't have the best day, but I ask you as my team to just help me have a good day. If you see me not smiling, just say, 'Hey, Dom, you need to smile because that face you're making isn't.'" And they would laugh, and we cultivated a very strong relationship. But I asked them to hold me accountable. Some leaders disregard, some followers of leaders are uncomfortable being upfront with their leader. And I don't think that should be. This is not the 80s where you need to fear your boss. I think your boss or your leader should be respected, but that respect has to be earned. So if you have a team, maybe you should ask them to hold you accountable. There's nothing wrong with that. They'll probably respect you a little bit more. Like I said before, your team is going to talk about you at their dinner table. What they say is up to you. Abraham Lincoln once said, "When I lay down the reins of this administration, I want to have one friend, and that friend is inside myself." Are you comfortable with who you are? Are you comfortable with the actions you've taken? I can assume if you're anything like me, you could potentially be uncomfortable with things you've done in the past. And that's okay. We are human. We're going to make mistakes. Some of the mistakes that we make from the past, if we haven't gotten past them, can be rectified, especially if this mistake we made negatively impacted somebody else. Maybe you just pick up the phone and contact that person if you have access to them. Or shoot them a message and say, you know what? I did this, or whatever the thing is that you did, apologize for it. None of us are above apology. And once I learned how to apologize, even though I wasn't wrong, my world got so much easier. It is even great in marriage, I tell you that. I'm not saying you have to do it all of the time, but it is beneficial to your growth, right? I think if we look at where we want to be the day we're on our deathbed and who's around us, because those are going to be the important people. That's going to be the family, right? Whether it's blood related or not, just relationships that we've cultivated over the years. We'll be standing there and we want people to look at us as we're laying there, as we're old and gray. If you're anything like me, you're bald, but just old, getting ready to jump on the other side, looking up at the faces, and those faces should be smiling because they know that you lived such a full life. They know that you added so much value to those around you. You were integral in all of your actions. You had morals, you had values. You engaged in a way that was accountable. Like you held yourself accountable, which allowed others to hold themselves accountable. And maybe there are people in your life that should probably be saying, you know, what would, place your name there. So in this case, what would Dom do? Right? What expertise are you giving to those around you? Are you simplifying lives for others, or are you making it difficult? Now, I'm not saying life's not going to be difficult, but maybe we need to soften our approach just a smidge to get to know, like truly know, the people around us and have a better understanding of those individuals that are around us, whether they're friends, whether they are employees, whether they are peers. It doesn't matter. They're people. And the better you get to know them, the better they get to know you, the more nurturing your relationships that are built are going to be. And that's what we're going to talk about next time when we speak on the Think, React, Lead podcast. We're going to talk about you as an influencer as it relates to nurturing those around you. Again, my name is Dom Faussette. This is the Think, React, Lead podcast. I can be found on Instagram under Dom Faussette, also at Think, React, Lead, Facebook the same. YouTube channel is YouTube.com/Think, React, Lead. My hopes are that all of you have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. What is my web page? I'm going to go with thinkreactlead.com. Just updated that. But feel free to reach out to me, and if I can answer any questions, I will. Until then, we will chat soon. Have a wonderful day.
You've been listening to Think, React, Lead. To connect with your authentic purpose, contact Dom at www.thinkreactlead.com.